Before we start our demos, I would like to just start with some basic ideas of 4 values when you're looking at an environment. I put that light value in that's the sky. That'll be the lightest. The second lightest will be the ground plane. The third lightest will be the mountain shapes. And the darkest will be the upright plains, which is, the trees and the bushes and stuff like that. So that's a general rule and a way to reduce this down to kind of a 4-value idea when you see something. But this can completely change because there could be a lighting situation where this mountain back here can go an extremely dark value, and this tree could be front lit and be extremely light in relationship. So that's something to take note of. Another thing to take note of in trees and the value of green, similar to the value of red, are dark values. So a lot of times we'll see the light side of a tree and want to go extremely light. But we have to remember that that area is not lighter than this area in here, where the ground plane is. Okay, I think that's enough to get us started. A lot of ways to think about this is your, in values, this is a 1, this is a 2, this is a 3, and this is a 4. Okay? Now, as you see in my value lecture, you can do a lot with that, bend and change. This is just a basis from atmospheric perspective to give you an idea, at least a general direction to go. Okay, so now let's get into it. I'm going to start with a quick sketch of this scene, and I'll develop it a little further. So I'm just placing large shapes where I want to put them, nothing fancy, to get more shape size and a little bit of form over form, because that creates perspective as well. We don't have architecture to give us perspective, so we need to use atmospheric perspective and also form over form. So I'm using 7 values because I originally put 4 down there and realized quickly that I'm not going to be able to give a very good demo on atmospheric perspective with just 4 values. I could show you design, but if I'm going to show the subtleties of what's happening in this scene, I'm going to need a few more values. But do notice I'm not putting 20 values. 7 values should be sufficient. If you take a look too, I started with that 1 gray value, but I'm about to put in, the differences. The sky in this scene, it can be lighter on the bottom, but I'm going to put the sky in as the 1, the lightest value. And then I'll put the foreground as the 2. But right now you can see it still works that. You can change things according to how light the ground plane is, according to the distance. But right here you'll see in just a moment I'm going to put in the sky as my lightest value. As I'm using this, notice as we step back, once again, the 1 value is the sky, the ground plane's the 2, the angled plane of the hill is the 3, and the upright plane of the trees is my 4, which is my darkest. But now I'm going to start developing it with color. You're going to see I am not color picking. I'm not grabbing it from the photo. You'll definitely be able to tell that by the end. Color and photographs are incredible, but they're certainly not the level of our eye and our experience of getting outside. So I'm going to go more off. I'm not looking at any other painting reference. I'm going off my experience of going out combined with this. And my experience going outside is telling me that this photograph has far too much chroma. It's way too saturated or bionic. Those greens go too much. Even though greens are powerful here, if I start painting like that, I don't think it's going to be very harmonious in the end. So as you see me mix my colors, there's only one way to know if the color works, and that's putting it on your painting. So I'll lay it in. If it doesn't work, I just make another color and then put it in until they work. It's going to happen fairly fast on this quick motion, but I'm putting the color and saturation of the foreground in the distance, and then some of my distance color in the foreground to show you how they look so different. If we start putting the same contrast in the distance as in the foreground, and the same saturation in the distance as the foreground, we're going to lose all the believability of atmospheric perspective. So we just have to keep reminding ourselves, okay, that distant hill is made up of the exact same material as the foreground. It's fairly obvious from the photo that it's, grassy hills with oak trees. But we have to remember that those, we're looking through something. We're looking through, like the example of we're looking through the water. We're looking through something. Their atmosphere is something. So we are no longer just looking at a distant mountain saying, my mind tells me that that's made out of trees and grass. No, I'm looking through water. I'm looking through dust. I'm looking through particles. And I'm going to represent that. And with our knowledge, then we can push it, like in this example, where now I'm going to take, I'm not going to look at the reference, photo reference, and I'm just going to say, what will it take to give the scene more air, more space, more depth? So I'm now manipulating it with the knowledge I have of it. So I'm going to change this exact same scene and say, well, what would it look like in theory if it was backlit? What's the scene going to look like if, the sun's coming down and it's just golden light and there's tons of particles or things in the air? How's that going to affect my scene? So you can see I've gone really analogous, in the yellow range to pull those together. But until I get them all put down, anything that isn't in that tight harmony of being all bathed with this golden sunlight, those sort of things are good. Like if I put a blue in here, it's just too extreme, it's going to stick out. Okay, so let's do another one. Moonlight. Is there atmospheric perspective at night? Absolutely. So let's just make something up real quick and take a look at what would happen if we were to go with a moonlit night. You can see I'm just starting at the bottom, putting it together, and putting the scene together of, okay, what is this going to look like? How is this changing? What is a golden light? What happens if it's your light source is this cool moonlight? And you can see fairly quickly, we can just put just enough color notes down to say, okay, it's something, we're getting it across. But by doing this, the more you prepare a painting before you start by putting down notes like this, the stronger it's going to be in the end. You can also see on this one, earlier on the oak tree, I went with a cool shadow underneath the foreground oak trees, but now it's a cool light, so I put a little warm temperature, but both times I pulled that color from the distance.